Captain Lee Dae-ho stood on the bridge of his ship looking out at the stars. His ship was old and small compared to the alien vessels that flew past Earth every day. The metal walls around him were painted white, but rust showed in many places. The screens on his control panel flickered sometimes, but this was the best ship humans had. "Captain, we have a message from the Galactic Council," said his second officer, Lieutenant Park Jin-woo. The young man's voice was tired. They all were tired of being ignored. Dae-ho sighed. "Put it on screen." The face of Ambassador Vextar appeared on the main screen. The alien looked like a tall blue stick with 4 eyes. Its voice sounded like metal scraping metal when it spoke. "Human Captain Lee," the alien said, not bothering to pronounce his name correctly. "Your species has again requested permission to buy plasma weapons. This request is denied. Your people are not ready for such power." "Why?" Dae-ho asked, though he knew the answer. "We have money. We have resources. What more do you need?" "Your species is primitive," Vextar replied without emotion. "You still use chemical rockets. You still fight wars with metal bullets. You are children playing with toys. We cannot give children real weapons." The screen went black. Dae-ho clenched his fists. Children. That's what they always called humans. Children. Down on Earth, Dr. Park Hae-jin was having similar problems. She worked in a lab on the moon, studying alien technology that the Council had given to humans. But every piece of equipment came with limits. The computers could only calculate simple math. The medical scanners could only see basic injuries. Nothing was complete. Nothing was advanced. "It's like they're keeping us stupid on purpose," she said to her assistant, Dr. Kim Soo-jin. Both women wore simple white lab coats. Around them, alien. Machines hummed quietly. "Maybe they are," Soo-jin replied. She held up a small device that looked like a metal cube. "This scanner should be able to see inside living bodies, but it only works on humans. It won't scan any alien biology." Hae-jin frowned. "That's strange. Why would they make it that way?" "I don't know. But I've been thinking. All the technology they give us has limits. Our computers can't hack their systems, our scanners can't study their bodies, our weapons can't hurt their ships. You think they don't trust us? I think they're scared of us." Soo-jin's words hung in the air like smoke. Scared? Of humans? That seemed impossible. Humans were the weakest species in the galaxy. Everyone knew that. Meanwhile, Commander Kim Tae-min was training Earth's defense forces in a military base in Korea. His soldiers were good, but their equipment was basic. They had guns that shot metal bullets. They had bombs that used chemical explosives. They had armor made of steel and ceramic plates. "Sir," said Sergeant Oh Dong-hyun. "The Council. Ships are doing training exercises near Mars again. Should we watch them?" "Yes," Tae-min replied. "Record everything. I want to see how they fight." The recording showed alien ships moving in perfect lines. They shot beams of bright light at targets. The light cut through metal like paper. But Tae-min noticed something. The aliens always fought the same way. They lined up, they shot their beams, they moved in patterns. It was like watching a dance. "They never change," he muttered. "Always the same moves." On the space station orbiting Earth, Ambassador Choi Nari was reading reports from human colonies. The news was not good. The aliens who controlled trade routes were raising prices again. Human colonies on Mars and Europa were running out of supplies. Food was expensive. Medicine was hard to find. Nari had been Earth's representative to the Galactic Council for 5 years. In that time, she had made thousands of requests. Most were denied. A few were approved, but with so many limits that they were almost useless. She looked at her latest request. Permission to build faster ships so humans could explore more of the galaxy. The answer was the same as always. Request denied. Humans are not ready for deep space travel. Not ready, she said to herself. Always not ready. Her assistant, Mr. Lee Kyung-ho, entered her office. He carried a data pad with more bad news. Ambassador, the Vorthak Trade Union has raised the price of medical supplies again. They say human currency is not valuable enough. The Vorthak were one of the most powerful alien species. They looked like giant crystals that could think and move. They controlled most of the galaxy's mining operations. Humans bought metal and rare elements from them, but the prices kept going up. How much this time? Nari asked. 50% increase. And they want payment in advance. Nari closed her eyes. Earth's colonies would suffer. People would die because they couldn't afford medicine. But there was nothing she could do. Humans were weak. They had to accept whatever terms the aliens offered. Back on his ship, Captain Deho received an urgent message from Earth Command. A group of human miners had found something strange in the asteroid belt, something that didn't belong there. "Captain, you need to see this," said Lieutenant Park Jinwoo. He put the message on the main screen. The miners had found a piece of metal floating in space. But it wasn't human metal, and it wasn't from any known alien species. The metal was black and seemed to move like liquid, but it was solid. Strange symbols covered its surface. "Where did it come from?" Deho asked. "Unknown, sir. The miners found it near the edge of the solar system. It was just floating there." Deho studied the images. The metal looked wrong somehow. It made him feel uncomfortable just looking at it. "Send a team to collect it, but be careful, don't let anyone touch it directly." "Yes, sir, but Captain, there's something else. Long-range scanners are picking up movement at the edge of the galaxy. Something big is coming." Deho felt a chill run down his spine. "How big?" "We don't know, sir. The Council hasn't said anything about it. But whatever it is, it's moving fast. And it's heading toward the inner systems." For the first time in years, Deho wondered if being called primitive might actually be a good thing. If something was coming that scared the powerful aliens, maybe being weak and ignored would keep Earth safe. He was wrong. Far away, at the edge of the galaxy, massive shapes moved through the darkness between stars. They were hungry. They had eaten entire galaxies before. And now they had found a new one, full of energy and life. They were coming. 3 weeks after the strange metal was found, the galaxy changed forever. Captain Lee Deho was sleeping in his small cabin when alarms started screaming. Red lights flashed everywhere. His ship shook like it was being hit by earthquakes. "Captain, to the bridge!" Lieutenant Park Jinwoo's voice came through the speakers. He sounded scared. Deho ran to the bridge in his pajamas. What he saw on the main screen made his blood turn cold. Huge black shapes were moving through space near Jupiter. They looked like giant sea creatures, but they were made of metal and flesh combined. Each one was bigger than Earth's largest city. "What are those things?" Deho asked. "Unknown, sir. They just appeared out of nowhere. They're not using any technology we recognize." More reports came in from across the galaxy. The Vorthak crystal homeworld was under attack. The energy beings called Nexari were fighting for their lives. Every major alien civilization was screaming for help. On the moon, Dr. Park Hyejin watched the news with growing horror. The alien technology in her lab was going crazy. Screens showed images of worlds being destroyed. The attackers were called Devourers because they seemed to eat everything they touched. "Soo-jin, look at this," Hyejin called to her assistant. On her screen, a Vorthak crystal city was being consumed by black organic matter. The crystals that had stood for millions of years were melting like ice in hot water. "How is that possible?" Soo-jin asked. "The Vorthak are supposed to be invincible." "Not anymore," Hyejin replied. She switched to another channel. This one showed Nexari energy beings trying to fight the invaders. Their powerful light weapons hit the Devourer ships, but instead of destroying them, the weapons seemed to make them stronger. "The Devourers are absorbing the energy," Hyejin realized. "They're feeding on it." On Earth, Commander Kim Tae-min was receiving desperate messages from the Galactic Council. For the first time in human history, the aliens were asking for help. "Sir," said Sergeant Oh Dong-hyun, "the Council is requesting immediate military assistance. They want all human forces to report to the Nexari system." Taemin almost laughed. A month ago, the aliens had called humans primitive children. Now, they wanted human help. "What do they offer in return?" he asked. "Full membership in the Galactic Council, access to all their technology, equal voting rights, Taman's smile disappeared. If the aliens were offering everything humans had ever wanted, the situation must be truly desperate. Ambassador Choi Nari was in an emergency meeting with what remained of the Galactic Council. Half the alien representatives were dead or missing. The others looked terrified. "The Devourers adapt to our weapons," reported the Vorthak representative, his crystal body cracked and dim. "Our plasma cannons made them stronger. Our dark matter bombs fed them energy. Nothing works." "What about kinetic weapons?" Nari asked. "Physical impact rather than energy?" The aliens looked at her like she was speaking a foreign language. "Kinetic weapons are primitive," said the Nexari delegate, its energy form flickering weakly. "We stopped using such crude methods millions of years ago. Maybe it's time to try crude methods again," Nari suggested. Back in space, Captain Deho was preparing his small fleet for war. His ships were old and simple, but they had something the alien vessels didn't: weapons that used physical force instead of energy. "All ships check your railguns," he ordered. Railguns shot metal projectiles at incredible speed using magnetic force. They were simple technology, but very effective. "Captain," said Lieutenant Park Jin-woo, "we're getting reports from our first human ships that engaged the enemy. Their energy shields don't work against our weapons." "What do you mean?" "The Devourer ships have armor that adapts to energy attacks, but when our railguns hit them, the armor doesn't know how to respond. It's like they've never seen physical weapons before." For the first time in weeks, Deho smiled. "Then let's show them what primitive humans can do." The first major battle happened near the planet Xerion. The Devourers had surrounded the world with dozens of their bioships. The planet's energy shields were failing. Millions of aliens were about to die. Then the human fleet arrived. Deho's ships were tiny compared to the Devourer vessels, but when they opened fire, something amazing happened. The railgun projectiles punched through the alien bio-armor like it was paper. Explosions bloomed across the enemy ships. "They're not adapting," shouted Jin-woo. "Their armor can't figure out how to stop metal bullets." The battle turned quickly. Human ships darted between the massive Devourer vessels, firing their simple weapons. Each hit caused real damage. The bioships that had seemed invincible began to retreat. Dr. Hai Jin was studying samples of Devourer biomatter that the military had collected. What she found was disturbing and encouraging at the same time. "The Devourers are incredibly advanced," she told Sujin. "Their bodies can adapt to almost any form of energy. Heat, radiation, plasma, dark matter. They can absorb it all and become stronger. But not physical damage. No. Their evolution focused on energy absorption. They never developed defenses against simple chemical reactions or physical impact. It's like they never met a species that still used such basic methods." Sujin looked at a sample under the microscope. "So our primitive technology is actually an advantage?" "Exactly. While other species evolved beyond physical weapons, we kept using them. Now that's the only thing that works." Commander Taemin was coordinating ground forces on worlds that had been partially consumed by the Devourers. His soldiers used chemical explosives, flamethrowers, and metal bullets. The enemy couldn't adapt to these simple weapons. "Sir," reported Sergeant O, "the aliens are amazed by our tactics. They want to learn how to make gunpowder bombs." Taemin shook his head. Aliens who could manipulate dark matter wanted to learn how to make simple explosives. The galaxy had turned upside down. As news of human victories spread, something unexpected happened. The surviving alien species began to look at humans differently. The primitive children had become their saviors. But the Devourers were learning too. If physical weapons could hurt them, they would find a way to counter this threat. And their solution was simple: destroy the source of the problem. They turned their massive fleets toward a small blue planet on the edge of the galaxy, a world called Earth. Captain Deho received the warning from long-range scouts. Hundreds of Devourer bioships were heading straight for humanity's homeworld. "How long do we have?" he asked. 6 days, sir. Maybe less." Deho looked at Earth. On his screen, the beautiful blue world where he was born, where his family lived, where 3 billion humans called home. The Devourers were coming to end the threat of human weapons once and for all. They planned to consume Earth and everyone on it, but they had underestimated humans before. They were about to do it again. 6 days later, the Devourers arrived at Earth. Captain Lee Dae-ho watched from his ship as the enemy fleet came out of hyperspace. There were so many bioships that they blocked out the stars. Each one was massive, covered in black organic armor that moved like living skin. "How many?" he asked Lieutenant Park Jin-woo. "Over 300 ships, sir. Each one bigger than our largest space station." Dae-ho's small human fleet looked like toys next to the Devourer vessels. But they were all Earth had. Every human warship in the galaxy had come home to defend their world. "All ships, this is Captain Dae-ho," he said into his radio. "Today we fight for our home. Today we show these monsters what humans can do." Down on Earth, sirens wailed in every city. Dr. Park Hee-jin was in her lab working desperately on a new weapon. She had discovered something important about the Devourers. "Soo-jin, help me with this," she called to her assistant. They were mixing chemicals in a large container. "If I'm right, this compound should poison their biosystems." "Will it work?" Soo-jin asked, sweat dripping from her face. "I don't know, but it's our only chance." The chemical mixture was based on earth plants and bacteria. Hye-jin hoped that the Devourers, who had never encountered Earth biology, would have no defense against it. Commander Kim Tae-min was preparing Earth's ground defenses. Millions of people were moving into underground bunkers and subway tunnels. The cities above would become battlefields. "Sir," said Sergeant Oh Dong-hyun, "the enemy ships are starting to land. They're releasing some kind of organic matter." Tae-min looked through his binoculars. Black slime was spreading across the land where the Devourer ships had touched down. The slime consumed everything it touched, trees, buildings, even the soil itself. "It's converting our planet," he realized. "They're turning Earth into one of them." Ambassador Choi Nuri was in Earth's command center, coordinating with the remaining alien allies. The few surviving Vorthak and Nexari had come to help defend Earth, but their energy weapons were useless against the Devourers. "We need to evacuate the children first," she told her assistant Lee Kyung-ho. "Get them to the generation ships." Massive evacuation ships were launching from Earth's surface, carrying civilians to safety. But there weren't enough ships for everyone. Billions of people would have to stay and fight. The battle began when the first Devourer bioships reached Earth's orbit. They didn't use conventional weapons. Instead, they sprayed organic matter that began consuming the planet's atmosphere. The sky turned black as the air itself became poisonous. Captain Dae-ho's fleet attacked with everything they had. Railguns fired metal projectiles at incredible speed. Chemical rockets exploded against the bioships' hulls. Nuclear missiles left bright flashes in the darkness. "We're hurting them," shouted Jin-woo. "But there are too many." For every Devourer ship they destroyed, 2 more took its place. The human fleet was being overwhelmed. On the surface, the black organic matter spread like a plague. It consumed New York in minutes. London fell in an hour. Seoul became a mass of writhing black tentacles that reached toward the sky. But the humans fought back with everything they had. Dr. Hye-jin's chemical weapon was loaded into artillery shells and fired at the advancing slime. Where the chemicals hit, the organic matter began to dissolve. "It's working," she yelled over the sound of explosions. "The compound is poisoning their biosystems." Commander Tae-min led his soldiers through the underground tunnels of Seoul. Above them, the city was being consumed. But below, humans were fighting back with flamethrowers and explosive charges. "The slime can't adapt to fire," he told his men. "Keep burning it. Don't let it spread to the subway system." The battle raged for 3 days. Half of Earth's surface was covered in black organic matter. The oceans were turning into a thick, dark soup. The planet was dying. But something unexpected happened. The Devourers began to slow down. Dr. Hye-jin's chemical weapon was spreading through their bio-network like a virus. The poison was killing them from the inside. "Captain," Jin-woo reported to Dae-ho, "the enemy ships are becoming sluggish. Their bio-armor is weakening." Dae-ho saw his chance. "All ships concentrate fire on the largest bioship. That must be their command vessel, the Human fleet focused their attack on a massive devourer ship that was 3 times larger than the others. Railguns pounded its hull. Nuclear missiles exploded against its surface. Slowly, the giant ship began to crack. But the victory came at a terrible price. The dying command ship began to fall toward Earth. If it crashed, the impact would destroy what remained of the planet. In the command center, Ambassador Nari made the hardest decision of her life. "Activate the planetary charges," she ordered. "Ma'am?" Kyung-ho looked confused. "We're going to destroy Earth ourselves. It's the only way to stop them." Months earlier, human engineers had secretly placed fusion reactors in Earth's core. They were meant to be used for energy production. But now they would become the largest bomb ever created. "All evacuation ships, this is Ambassador Choi," she broadcast to the fleeing vessels. "You have 10 minutes to reach minimum safe distance. We are going to detonate the planet." Captain Daeho heard the message and felt his heart break. Earth, his beautiful home, would be destroyed. But it was the only way to save the galaxy. "All ships retreat to safe distance," he ordered. "Prepare for planetary detonation." Dr. Hyejin and Sujin were on one of the last evacuation ships. Through the window they could see Earth below, half covered in black slime, the other half on fire. "We failed," Sujin whispered. "No," Hyejin replied. "We're saving everyone else." Commander Taemin was still fighting in the underground tunnels when the evacuation order came. He and his soldiers ran for the emergency shuttles, but many wouldn't make it in time. "Go!" he shouted to his men. "I'll hold them off." But Sergeant O grabbed his arm. "Sir, we all go together or nobody goes." They reached the shuttle just as the countdown reached 0. Ambassador Nari pressed the button that would destroy her world. Deep in Earth's core, fusion reactors overloaded. The planet's center became a miniature star. The explosion was so bright it could be seen from other solar systems. Earth died in a ball of fire and light. The Devourer command ship was vaporized instantly. The bioships in orbit were torn apart by the blast. The organic matter that had been consuming the planet was burned away in seconds. From their evacuation ships, the survivors watched their homeworld become a new star. 3 billion people had died, but their sacrifice had saved the galaxy. Captain Daeho stood on his bridge, tears streaming down his face. Earth was gone. But humanity lived on. "Sir," Jinwoo said quietly, "we're receiving messages from across the galaxy. The remaining Devourer fleets are retreating. We won." Yes, they had won. But the price was everything they had ever known. The age of Earth was over. The age of the wandering humans was about to begin. 1 year after Earth died, the galaxy was a different place. Admiral Lee Daeho stood on the bridge of his new flagship, the New Soul. The ship was 10 times larger than his old vessel, built with the best technology from a dozen alien worlds. But it still carried human weapons, railguns and missile launchers that had saved the galaxy. "Admiral, we're approaching the Kepler system," reported Captain Park Jin-woo, who had been promoted after the war. "The Vortex survivors are ready to begin the terraforming project." Through the main window, Daeho could see a dead world slowly coming back to life. Human engineers were using earth seeds and soil samples to create new forests and grasslands. Where once there had been crystal cities, now green plants were growing. "Good," Daeho said. "Every world we restore is a victory against the Devourers." The Devourers were gone, but they had left behind a galaxy in ruins. Half the star systems were dead. Entire species had been wiped out. It was humanity's job now to rebuild what had been lost. Dr. Park Hee-jin was working on the research station New Busan, orbiting a planet that was being terraformed. She was older now, with gray hair and tired eyes. But her work had never been more important. "Director, the wheat is growing well in the alien soil," reported her assistant Dr. Kim Soo-jin. "The rice will be ready for planting next month." Hye-jin smiled. Rice and wheat from Earth growing on alien worlds. It was strange but wonderful. "How many worlds are we working on now?" she asked. 47, Director. Each one will be able to support human colonies within 5 years. Hyejin looked out at the planet below. It had been a Nexari energy world before the Devourers came. Now it would grow earth plants and feed human families. The galaxy was becoming more human every day. General Kim Tae-min was on the military, Station New Incheon, training the new Galactic Defense Force. His students were not just humans anymore. Young Vorthak crystals and Nexari energy beings were learning to use human weapons and tactics. Remember, he told his mixed class of recruits, the enemy always expects you to fight the same way. That's why we change our methods. That's why we survive. A young Vorthak crystal named Kethvar raised his hand. General, why do humans use so many different weapons? Other species used only energy beams. Because different situations need different solutions, Taemin replied. Sometimes you need a railgun, sometimes you need a knife, sometimes you need your brain. Humans learned to use everything. The alien students nodded. They were learning that human ways were not primitive. They were smart. Chancellor Choi Nari governed the new Galactic Union from the mobile capital ship New Harmony. The ship traveled from system to system, bringing help and hope to the survivors of the war. Chancellor, we have a request from the Outer Rim colonies, said Minister Lee Kyung-ho. They want permission to establish a new human settlement. Approved, Nari said without hesitation. Humans have the right to settle anywhere they choose. This was the new law of the galaxy. Humans who had saved everyone could go wherever they wanted. They could build cities on any world. They could establish colonies in any system. Ma'am, there's something else, Kyung-ho continued. The settlement wants to be called New Earth. Nari's eyes grew wet. New Earth. There were dozens of worlds with that name now. Humans could not bring back their original home, but they could build new ones. Tell them they have my blessing, she said. The new soul arrived at the Vega system where a strange discovery had been made. Human miners had found something in the asteroid belt, pieces of technology that didn't belong to any known species. Admiral Dae-ho and Dr. Hee-jin met on the mining station to examine the artifacts. The metal was similar to what had been found before the war, but different somehow. It's not Devourer technology, Hee-jin said, studying the strange symbols. But it's not from any galaxy species either. Could there be others? Dae-ho asked. Other species that survived the Devourers? Maybe. Or maybe this is from something older. Something that fought the Devourers long ago. They were interrupted by an urgent message from the communication center. Long-range sensors had detected something at the edge of the galaxy. Ships were approaching, but they were not Devourer vessels. Admiral, Captain Jinwoo reported, the ships are sending a message. It's in an unknown language, but our computers are trying to translate it. After an hour of work, the translation was complete. The message was simple. We are the remnants. We have heard of your victory. We wish to meet the humans who defeated the Devourers. Dae-ho felt excitement and fear. Humanity had become the leaders of their galaxy. Now they were about to meet survivors from other galaxies. Send a reply, he ordered. Tell them humans welcome all who come in peace. Meanwhile, on the agricultural world of New Korea, human families were building new lives. Children who had never seen Earth were learning about their lost homeworld from their parents and grandparents. 8-year-old Park Min-ho was planting rice with his grandmother. She had been born on Earth in the old Seoul before the war. Grandma, was Earth really the most beautiful planet in the galaxy? He asked. Yes, child, she replied, her hands gentle on the young rice plants. But you know what? These new worlds we're building might be even more beautiful, because we're making them with love and hope. The boy looked around at the green fields stretching to the horizon. Other human families were working nearby. In the distance, young Vorthak crystals were learning to farm alongside human children. Will I ever see Earth? He asked. Earth is gone, Min-ho. But Earth lives in us. In our stories, our food, our songs. We carry Earth with us wherever we go. On the new Seoul, Admiral Dae-ho was reading reports from across the galaxy. Human colonies were thriving. Alien species were learning human ways. The galaxy was peaceful for the first time in centuries, but he knew this peace would not last forever. The remnants were coming from other galaxies. There might be new threats, new challenges. Humanity would have to be ready. Admiral, Jinwoo said, "We're receiving a message from the Andromeda Galaxy. They want to establish trade relations with the Galactic Union." Deho smiled. Trade with other galaxies. A year ago, humans had been called primitive children. Now, they were the leaders of an intergalactic civilization. "Send a reply," he said. "Tell them humans are always interested in making new friends." He looked out at the stars, thinking about the future. Humanity had lost their homeworld, but they had gained something greater. They had become citizens of the universe. The galaxy was no longer ruled by energy beings and crystal creatures who thought they were superior. It was led by humans who understood that survival came not from advanced technology, but from adaptability, courage, and the willingness to fight for what was right. In the end, the aliens had been wrong about humans. They were not primitive children. They were the future of the galaxy, and the future was bright with the light of 1,000 new worlds, each one carrying a piece of Earth in its soil, a piece of humanity in its heart. The age of humanity had begun,